So as usual, if you have any queries, questions, you can shoot them through. We'll try to clarify them as we go forward. And let's get smashing. All right, so excerpt number 3. The degrees of Torah Lishma are innumerable. And one of them is that when rising at midnight, one should observe the reading of She who dwells in the gardens, friends are listening to your voice. Let me hear it, which is to connect himself with the soul of the righteous in the Garden of Eden and unite with them to be refined in the pleasantness of engaging in the Torah, and tie his nefesh, ruach, and neshama with the internality of the letters of the Torah and connect them to Ein Sof, to unite the Creator and his Shekhinah. That too cannot be attained before he adheres to the righteous of the generation and knocks on their door each and every day. One who dusts himself with the dust of their feet sincerely and hopes for the light and the light of Torah, then all that he did not attain in this lowly world, he will attain in the end in the Garden of Eden. This is the purpose of the pleasure of the next world, to attain the upper lights and enjoy the brightness of the Shekhinah. All right. The degrees of Torah Lishma are innumerable. So we're reading that again. As usual, we're always reading twice. So just bear with me. I think I'm just going to zoom out a little bit if I can. Yes. Okay. There we go. All right. So the degrees of Torah Lishma are innumerable. Obviously, Torah Lishma, like we've learned before, right? When we're doing everything in order to bestow. So an act of bestowal and actually coming to an act of bestowal is learning Torah in Lishma, which is innumerable. And one of them is that when rising at midnight, one should observe the reading of She who dwells in the gardens, friends are listening to your voice, let me hear it, which is to connect himself with the soul of the righteous in the Garden of Eden and unite with them to be refined in the pleasantness of engaging in the Torah, and tie his nefesh, ruach, and neshama with the internality of the letters of the Torah and connect them to Ein Sof to unite the Creator and his Shekhinah. Okay, so that's a really, really long sentence there, as you can see, but basically what he's talking about is as we engage in the attribute of bestowal for the sake of the Creator without any self-benefit, then we raise ourselves a state called the Garden of Eden, where a person unites in engaging in the Torah. Torah means that I'm filling the vessel with light. Okay, and tie his nefesh, ruach, and neshama with the internality of the letters of the Torah. So the letters of the Torah are the vessels. And if I can use all my vessels, all my desires in order to bestow, then I should be attaining nefesh, ruach, neshama. Okay, those are the levels of attainment. And those should be then connect to Ein Sof, which should be the end of the road. Okay, so end of our development in terms of what it's talking about in the Torah, and that is to unite with the Creator and his Shekhinah. So what we want to do is do all our acts in order to bestow to the Creator, and then that brings us to the end of our correction, where we feel completeness and eternity, and that level is called Ein Sof. Okay, so basically it's just giving us the steps of development on the path of spirituality. That too cannot be attained before he adheres to the righteous of the generation. So what we have to do is basically learn from the righteous of the generation. Okay, which are our teachers, as you know, Baal Salam, Rabash, Rav, and knocks on their door each and every day. So basically, we have to make sure that we're studying on our spirit, we're working on our spirituality, we're studying and we're working on our spirituality day to day. Right? Just like we're taking care of our bodies every day with food and water and sleep and so forth, we also need to make sure we're taking care of our soul every day as well. Right? One who dusts himself with the dust of their feet sincerely and hopes for the light and the light of Torah, then all that he did not attain in this lowly world, he will attain in the end of the garden. At the end, in the Garden of Eden. So basically, everything that a person needs to do in order to learn from the teachers, one must do, and that's normally known as nullifying one's self-egoism. That's why it's saying, make yourself as dust under the feet of the righteous. So you really need to kind of completely nullify yourself and just make sure that all your egoism is just, nullified. Whatever the teacher says, you're going with it. That's what it means to be dust under their feet. This is the purpose of the pleasure of the next world, to attain the upper lights and enjoy the brightness of the Shekhinah. Right? So obviously when we're talking about the next world, what we'd like to do is attain a higher level of consciousness while we're living here. Okay, so any new degree that I attain, any higher level that I attain, for me is going to be the next world. When it talks about in the books, when they talk about this world or the next world, we have to understand that what they're talking about is the current state I'm in, and then the next state I want to be in at a higher degree of spirituality. It's the same thing when we're growing up, right? When we're a child, the world is not the same as it is when we're a grown-up now. Okay, what happened? Did the world change or did I change? I changed, accordingly, my world changed. So now I'm in a completely whole different ball game, right? It's a new world, it's a new reality. And this is how we need to look and observe our development as well, in order not to get confused. As you know, with religions, everybody's talking about something going to happen after we end up dead. And in the wisdom of Kabbalah, well, what do they Kabbalists say? Say, listen, nothing happens when you end up dead. If you end up dead, this is going to bury you. End of story. And that's very logical, actually, because when we do end up dead, and we see that in reality, they just bury people. Okay? So what happens afterwards? Well, then that's it, they're gone. So the whole idea of attaining the next world is while we're still alive here. Right? And this is one of the major differences between the wisdom of Kabbalah and religion, I guess. Right? If there are any questions, you guys let me know. Excerpt number 4. This is from Rabash. What does "may we be the head and not the tail" in the work mean? Okay, what does it mean that we should be the head and not the tail in the work? Man was given the reason and intellect in order to understand everything according to the intellect. And here we are told to walk by accepting faith in the sages. And as a person wants to understand this path, and since as long as one is placed under the governance of the will to receive for himself, he cannot know what is good and what is bad, but must accept everything the way the sages determined for us. Or dust and dirt will enter his eyes, and he will not be able to move forward. But when we do not criticize the words of the sages, and do not want to accept their words within reason, specifically by this we are rewarded with knowledge of holiness. This is so because the whole reason why we need to go above reason is that we are immersed in self-love. Hence, through faith above reason, we are rewarded with vessels of bestowal. Okay, let's run it down again. Man was given the reason and intellect in order to understand everything according to the intellect. And here we are told to walk by accepting faith in the sages. And a person wants to understand this path. And since as long as one is placed under the governance of the will to receive for himself, he cannot know what is good and what is bad, but must accept everything the way the sages determined for us. Or dust and dirt will enter his eyes, and he will not be able to move forward. But when we do not criticize the words of the sages and do not want to accept their words within reason, specifically by this we're rewarded with knowledge of holiness. All right, another very long sentence, but we need to understand the concept here, right? Okay, why do we need to go above reason? Why do we need to do the things that the sages say, even if we do not agree, right? Because sometimes our logic works differently with respect to what the sages say. Well, that's how it is when we're kids as well. How many times have you said no to your mum and dad? How many times in your teenage years did you say, oh, they don't understand me? Okay. How many times? All the time. It's exactly the same reason. Okay. When we're children, though, and when we're young, it's easy for us to nullify to parents. But when we're growing up, when we think we know everything already, it's hard for us to nullify ourselves. But if you want to get the wisdom of a person, you have to nullify yourself, and that's it. Otherwise, you're not going to get it. Okay. So this is exactly why they're teaching us this way. If we're in our desire to receive for ourselves, how can I possibly imagine what bestowal really is? How can I really even have any idea as to how I can get close to that concept? There just is no way. It's just not in my grasp. It's not in my perception. I don't see it. I can't smell it, touch it. There's nothing to talk about. This is exactly why we have to nullify ourselves, because we just have no idea. Okay, so it's actually quite logical to really just leave our own reasoning behind, put it aside, and take the reasoning of our teachers or the sages. And specifically by doing so, a person can raise himself or herself to a higher level. This is how kids grow up as well. When we're children, we go with what the parents say. Okay, and that's above reason. Can you imagine us at the age of 7, 8, 9 telling our parents, you know what, I'm just not going to do what you want me to do. I'm going to go according to my reason. Can you just imagine us saying that to our parents at 7, 8? Do you think we'll be successful in life in any way? We just can't be. Right. And this is why this is logical. Right? It's logical to be like this when we want to attain something beyond which we have no idea about. It's the same thing how kids are growing up. Laws of nature, they cannot be bent or broken. This is so because the whole reason why we need to go above reason is that we are immersed in self-love. Hence, through faith above reason, we're rewarded with vessels of bestowal. All right, so if you want to get out of your desire to receive for yourself, you have to nullify it to somebody else. This is exactly also why we're learning in a group. If I don't have people to nullify my ego, if I don't have, excuse me, something to work with in order to nullify my egoism, then there's nothing to talk about. I'm just living every day like every day. There's no change. There won't be any change. So I need this special relationship, a special attitude so that I can nullify my egoism. And if I can do that, if I can succeed with that, then we've got room to grow. Because then I can take that upper reason instead of the current reason I have, which I've put aside, I've nullified. I don't want to use it. I want to take an upper reason. And when I take that upper reason upon myself, what I've done is gone above the current level I'm in to a higher level. It's exactly how we raise children. They have a level of understanding, let's say at the age of 6, and you're working on them, you're raising them. Okay. And as you raise them according to their next level, the next level was against their desire to receive, because, you're always pushing a bit more for them to take on. Okay. But now, as they take on that reason now becomes their reason within. Okay. It becomes an understood reason. Okay. So for the next year, they've got to go above reason again. And that above reason will be within reason next time for the higher level. This is how we're always going above reason, but making the previous level within reason now. And that's how you become formatted, right? So every day we're actually going through the same process. But if a person doesn't, really work on him or herself, he doesn't really recognize that or realize it. This is why every day we don't think like we're changing, because we don't take the time to measure ourselves. We don't take the time to see if something between yesterday and today has changed. What do I have to do anew today? What do I have to renew? What do I have to recheck? Something I did yesterday was working, but now today I see it's not working. So where do I need to make all these adjustments? So as you can see, spirituality is not like, a walk in the park, as they say. It's really work. A person really needs to sit down and, burn some calories while trying to raise himself up with all the study and applications, right? Obviously, it's not impossible, but it is a bit of work. Any questions? Nothing? Okay, so we're all crystal today. Excerpt number 5 from Bala Sulam Shamati, article number 40. What is the measure of faith in the Rav? One must trust the opinion of his Rav and believe what his Rav tells him. It means that one should go as his Rav told him to do. And although he sees many arguments and many teachings that do not go hand in hand with the opinion of his Rav, he should nevertheless trust the opinion of his Rav. All right, so that's like heavy to chew, especially for people who are in their, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And in our generation, as you know, everybody's an expert on everything. Okay. So how are we going to work with that? It's quite a bit of a challenge for a student. One must trust the opinion of his Rav and believe what his Rav tells him. It means that one should go as his Rav told him to do. Okay, so the Rav says, that's what the Rav says. Okay, so gotta take it on board. And although he sees many arguments and many teachings that do not go hand in hand with the opinion of his Rav, he should nevertheless trust the opinion of his Rav. Okay, and this is where many people fall off. Obviously, you're going to have moments when you don't agree with the Rav, just like kids don't agree with parents. It's just the way it is. Okay. And if they're in too much of a disagreement, you find sometimes, often kids, sometimes, well, often now I hear they run away. Not very healthy at all. Would have been much smarter to nullify to parents. It'll be easier to grow up that way. Same in our work. One who does not nullify cannot move forward. Vince is asking, sometimes my group tells me not to measure myself. Do I nullify myself to this and not measure? I don't know what they mean by measure. What do they mean by don't measure yourself? How can I not measure myself? If I want to advance in something, I have to check myself from yesterday to today, don't I? But the measurement is towards me. Okay, how I'm bestowing, if I'm connected to the friends more, but I have to have some kind of a measurement. With anything we learn as well, we have to measure ourselves. According to yesterday to today, have I added something to what I've learned? Is there something additional I need to take on board? So with respect to the study, I need to measure myself. Also, with respect to bestowal, in spirituality, a lot of our work is in measurement. How much of my desire to receive am I going to use? How much can I bestow? These are all measurement tools. So with the word measurement, I don't know what they're trying to tell you, or measure yourself with respect to what. Do you need to compare yourself to others? Well, sometimes we do. Remember, we're using those 3 principles. jealousy, um, desire, honor, aren't we? We're using those things all the time. Jealousy sounds like a bad thing, okay? But if I have friends which are working really hard, I want to be jealous because I can get inspired. Jealousy doesn't have to be a bad thing. It could be a good thing. It can motivate me. It can push me. I can say to myself, no, I want to be like those guys. I want to be nailing it every day. So that could be a good thing, you know? Um, I don't know. So need to clarify. Need to clarify what exactly they mean with that. Okay. So that was Barlestam excerpt number 5. Let's take a look at excerpt number 6. Through adhering to wise disciples, it is possible to receive some support. In other words, only a wise disciple can help him and nothing else. Even if he is great in the Torah, he will still be called a commoner if he has not been rewarded with learning from the Creator's mouth. Hence, one must surrender before a wise disciple and accept what the wise disciple places on him without any arguments, but by way of above reason. All right, so let's read that again. Through adhering to wise disciples, it is possible to receive some support. Okay. Just like children, if we don't get support, we can't grow. So, same here. Same in anything. Okay. Same in anything. If you want to learn something new as well, okay, you need support. There was a study recently, well, not recently, maybe several years ago, I think, that people who learn from courses or books don't succeed. Very small percentage succeed. Why? Because they're on their own. Their drive isn't always, super motivated. They don't always have the good, supporting environment to keep pushing and pushing. They have that initial desire to do something, to achieve something, but later on it just, you know, decreases and that's it. So it was something like 5% of people who use courses and books really, you know, become what they're studying. So that's quite a small percentage if you think about it. Okay. So in order to overcome that kind of stuff, you need an environment. Plus, you need someone to be accountable for. Okay, these are things they're also teaching us in real life, saying, look, you need to be accountable because otherwise, how are we going to really, take one step after another if you're not? Towards who? So if I don't have an environment, if I don't have a teacher, a guide to be accountable for, then I'm like a leaf in the wind, doing whatever I want, whenever I want, trying to, I don't know, having to second guess everything. And then you end up wasting a life. Okay, why? Because the goal's not clear. How you're going to get there is not clear. So how can you move forward? You can't. It's just common sense, really, to have somebody who knows what he's doing to coach you. And in business as well, you look at business like CEOs, right? Guys who own businesses, right? Running multi-billion-dollar companies. What do they have? They have coaches. You think, why would you need one? I mean, like, aren't you good? Okay. And of course he's good, but he also needs to have, some kind of support, some kind of an outside opinion, something he can like, he's also going through ups and downs. He's not having a great day every day. Nobody's having a great day every day. So you need this outside mechanism to keep you on track. It's the same thing with any athlete as well. The guy's a world champion. He's been making, he's been getting gold medals for the past 3 Olympics. Why would you need a coach? Because that's how you stay sharp. That's how you stay committed. That's how you keep your discipline. This is how you get good. And that's called an environment. That's called having a Rav in our business. That's called having a guide. So yeah, you do want to go with his head. Whose head you going to go with? And that's just how it is. So a wise disciple can help him and nothing else. So nobody else can help a person because nobody else, well, he doesn't know how to attain what the wise disciple already attained. So he doesn't really have a chance. Even if he's great in the Torah, he will still be called a commoner if he has not been rewarded with learning from the Creator's mouth. So in the wisdom of Kabbalah, a guide should bring the student to contact with the Creator. That's what the guide is for, right? So I could get from A to Z. And he should be actually guiding me in all the between steps as well. Listen, we're now on A, but ahead of us there's B, and B is a little tricky. So we're going to have to, turn right here, do a little left, but not too steep. And then we've got a sharp curve coming up, and it's called a C. Okay. And you better be careful when you're going into that one. All right. So the guide has to kind of like work with me so I can see where I'm going. It's like holding the hands of a baby as we teach them to walk. And you can't just tell it to, all right, stand up and do what I'm doing. It's just not going to work. The baby's going to think, oh, this guy's crazy. Okay. How am I supposed to do what he's doing? Okay. Same here. So we need someone to hold our hands. And that's what a Rav is in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Hence, one must surrender before a wise disciple and accept what the wise disciple places on him without any arguments, but by way of above reason. Just like that baby wants to walk. You hold its hands, his or her hands, and they're happy to now take a step, right? Despite the fact that they have no idea if they're going to make it or not. It is completely an act above reason. Okay, so you can learn from kids, right? It is above reason. There is no way that baby is going to be doing that logically with a calculation. And this is exactly how it is in our case because we have no idea about spirituality. This is why everything about spirituality, which has not been attained, has turned into all kinds of mumbo jumbo. There are thousands of them out there, from religions to all kinds of mystical methods, all kinds of beliefs about what we think and believe spirituality really is without having the slightest idea because we've never experienced it. And that's why you can have all kinds of religions on the planet seemingly talking about one God, but then killing each other for it. That is the depth of stupidity of staying within reason. You see what I mean? Right? If you understand, it'll make sense to go above reason. Okay? It makes sense. It's common sense to go above reason if you want to go forward to a higher level. Let's take a look at item number 7. This is from Baal Islam Shamati, article number 187, choosing labor. A trial means that a person cannot decide either way when one cannot determine the Creator's will and the will of his teacher. Although one can work devotedly, he is unable to determine if this devoted work is appropriate or not. That this hard work would be against his teacher's view and the view of the Creator. To determine, one chooses that which adds labor. This means that one should act according to one's teacher. Only labor is for man to do and nothing else. Hence, there's no place for doubt in one's action and thoughts and words. Instead, he should always increase labor. All right, let's read that again. A trial means that a person cannot decide either way when one cannot determine the Creator's will and the will of his teacher. Although one can work devotedly, he is unable to determine if this devoted work is appropriate or not. that this hard work would be against his teacher's view and the view of the Creator. Along the path, we're going to have times where we are awfully confused, really confused. And this could be for a person who's studying for years. Okay, I can vouch from experience. I've been studying for like nearly 25 years now. Okay. And I can honestly say I'm still confused. Okay. And who wouldn't be? As we advance in any science, don't we get more confused? We seemingly find an answer to one question, and then 100 questions seem to pop up all over the place. And there's only one way really to overcome all the dramas of confusion. How should I do? What to do? How I'm going to do it? I've got no idea how to do this, blah, 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 all that kind of confusion, all these doubts and question marks. There's really one way to overcome it, and that really is to just keep pushing forward. And there is no other way, really. It's the same thing also with life. You know, every time I have a drama, I can't jump off the building. I just have to keep going forward with an understanding that life, does give you lemons, and you don't always have the opportunity to make lemonade with them. Right? It's sour, it's bitter, it can be a bit of a chilly experience, but this is what growing up is. Even as we come to this world, think about all the dramas that a baby is going through as they're, being born. There you are, several pounds, and you have to squeeze through this really tight canal. And you just don't know if you're going to make it or not. You got no idea. You got nothing. You got nothing to hold on to. You got nothing that guarantees you anything. Okay? You don't. And then if you come through, you come through. And birth is a dangerous business. It really is. Anything can go wrong, anything can happen, all kinds of complications can happen. The fetus may not stick to the womb, may not develop properly. So, a lot of things happen, and so is our spiritual path as well. Our whole spiritual development is that, that's it, going through a lot of things that are tricky. And this is why a lot of people, kind of like lose their way and kind of like lose track and leave the path as well. Because it's just, can't bring the method together. And this is why it's serious work, and we have to add to it all the time. The only way you can really overcome things is by adding work and also allowing time to digest all the things you're adding on to your work. And this digestion process is really important. And this is why we have in life as well sometimes eureka moments, right? We have those aha moments in life. After contemplation, we don't understand what's going on. We're working on it, studying on it, and these things we're contemplating, and then all of a sudden, after like a few weeks or something, you have, that's what he meant. Okay. How's that happen? Well, because what your mind can't do now, it can do later on down the line. And this is why it's really important for us to kind of keep like moving along, keep walking. To determine one chooses that which adds labor. This means that one should act according to one's teacher. So I need to add where I see my teacher is adding. Okay, so if I have the time and the opportunity to add something to the work, it's a good idea. The more I'm engaged in it, the more I'm kind of like filling myself with it. The more I fill myself with it, if I do this correctly, then I should have more desire, because new things should open up where I should have now more room to evaluate the situation at a deeper level. If I don't expand my vessels, my perceptions, deeper and also wider too, then I'm really not doing the work any justice. I'm really not doing what I should be doing, and I'm not adding on. If I don't add, it's like a kid that's just not growing up. Okay, it's a serious problem, obviously, right? So, how do we motivate? How do we give the child the desire to want to do something, run around and, have a desire for something? That's work. And same for us as well now, because we're all grown-ups, okay? We are more prone to being like, no, I don't want to do this. Okay, so we need to get some push and shove from the environment. Obviously, not push and shove in a bad way, but support, motivation, some kind of aspiration. And if the environment is good and nice and easy and tight, if I got good friends along the way, then I can get some strength to, keep pushing, take another step here, another step there. Adding to the work doesn't necessarily mean I have to do something physically, but adding to the work can also be me taking the time over a cup of tea and coffee and really thinking about where I'm at in my study and how I'd like to move forward. And what are the things I've noticed about my egoism today, or what are the things I've noticed about my inclinations today, and how I should work with them. Even if you take aside 5, 10 minutes, over a cup of coffee, over a cup of tea, that's also adding to your work, isn't it? So you're kind of like, thinking about it, contemplating it, how you think you need to change, what you observed about yourself that you'd like to change so that we can be one step closer with that change to the ultimate goal. So all that kind of addition is adding to my spiritual work. Except number 8, and this is the last one. This is from Elimelech. The righteous, by his righteousness, installs his good desires and thoughts in others, so they too will have the good desire to adhere to the Creator with all their heart. By installing the desire in others, it is already regarded as an act, since an act in others was made of the desire that he has. This is the meaning of the verse, you open your hand and satisfy every living thing with desire, since the righteous extends abundance to the worlds and to every person. And how does he do that? By installing his desire in others. It follows that they have all become righteous through him. By this he can extend upon them great abundance, for the righteous is the one who seemingly opens his arms to the Creator in order to bestow upon the world. And with what does he open? The verse interprets and satisfy every living thing with desire, by satisfying everyone with the desire to love the Creator. Right, yeah. So let's read that again. The righteous by his righteousness. Okay, so anybody who's really adding to the world's spirituality, pushing the world spiritually forward, installs his good desire and thoughts in others, so they too will have the good desire to adhere to the Creator with all their heart. So as long as we're moving and trying to help others as well, as much as we can, to advance in spirituality, we're actually really helping the Creator as well. Because what does the Creator want to do, right? The Creator wants to bring the whole of creation to perfection. Just like we'd like to bring our kids to a growth level where they're really adaptable to the world and they're really in control of their lives and they're really wisdom. Okay. And that's how we want to raise our kids, right? We want to raise them so that they're strong, wise, smart, and they can handle stuff, right? Well, that's what the Creator wants for humanity. He wants us to handle our lives. As you can see, we're not doing a very good job, are we? So the righteous guys, the Kabbalists for years, what they're saying, listen, guys, let's stop mucking around on this planet like little kids, running around like headless chooks, and start thinking about the most important thing in the world. What is the meaning of this whole existence. What am I supposed to be doing here? And what is supposed to become of me? Okay. So these are the important things. So by opening the meaning of life and how we can attain it to everybody who wants to learn, we're actually extending that light. We're like helping the creator, right? Being his assistants. Okay. So apparently there are two questions. Okay. I will finish those questions once I'm done with this verse and we'll call it a night. Okay. So by actually helping the creator, helping humanity to understand life and to grow up with understanding, we're actually extending the desire of the creator to everybody else as well. Okay, and this is really, really important because as you can see, the biggest problem in the world is an like a life without a goal. Okay, that's just horrific because you're living day by day and you got like, well, why? What for? And that's the biggest cause of depression, right? Depression, violence, all kinds of sadness, drugs, all kinds of mental problems. Why? We just don't have, we just don't know what the goal and the purpose of life is. And if we don't know that stuff, we're confused about why we're living. Why do I need to now run around and do stuff? What for? Okay, so this is the biggest problem for humanity, and this is why humanity is wasting an enormous amount of time chasing all kinds of silly things that will not get us anywhere in life. Okay, unfortunately. All right, so hopefully we'll snap out of it soon. Okay, right then. Astley's asking, when are we considered born? Or when you're born? It's that question. You're considered born when you are born. Who's gonna feel that? You're gonna feel it. Obviously, you know, obviously whoever's giving the birth to you as well. All right. So what does it mean to be born? To be born means that I'm now perceiving reality from a different perspective, the perspective of the creator. And that's a change which we can all like not miss. Okay. Don't worry, you won't miss it. In other words, you definitely know about it. Ingrid's asking if one is content what she's doing and has a lot of strength and vitality, then one is not advancing towards spirituality. You know, if you've got strength and vitality, give it all you got. But sometimes they're saying, listen, you might not have that every day. So when you don't have it, just know how to deal with it. Right? Because we don't have a great day every day. Right? So you're going to have days when you're strong, you can add to it. This is why it says, listen, when can you add? You can add if you've got strength to add, right? So there are those moments you need to add. If you have strength, good. That's the time to add because when you don't have the strength, the work you added when you did have strength will be your pension fund, which you can dip into afterwards. You understand what I mean? It's like your little piggy bank. You put the effort in, you accumulate it somewhere. And when you have a bad day, you got something to dip your hands into. Mm. This is why having a framework, always adding something when you can is really, really important. The creator kind of keeps you safe when you've done everything you could have done when you had the power. He kind of like pays you back on a bad day. He says, yeah, I know you're having a bit of a rough time and I'm the cause of it all, but I do remember you pushing and shoving to move forward earlier on. And I think I'm thus henceforth going to give you a little hand here. That really is the case. But a framework, consistency is really important in this business. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a great evening or day, depending on where you are, or have a chat next time. All the best.
Kurt nefes